All right, so you're watching this video because for whatever reason you're currently failing the third quarter and you're getting the opportunity to retake the Chapter 3 test tomorrow. Just keep a few things in mind. Number one, the Chapter 3 test that you take will also replace your Chapter 3 quiz score. I know we actually didn't take a quiz, but if your class had a quiz score, then it's going to replace that too. Also, just the main thing to know is that failing the third quarter is going to require you to learn all of this all over again next quarter. So you can feel free to not work hard at this, but then keep in mind that you're going to have to do all this stuff over again anyway. You're going to have to go through the order of operations with fractions with no calculator. You're going to have to go back through the distributive property with fractions. You're going to have to do the solving with fractions. You're going to have to go back through the translation, which is what we're doing right now. You're going to have to go back through Chapter 4, which is what we just did. Really the best thing for you in terms of saving your time and making your life easy is probably just to go ahead and take this seriously and make sure you get the most out of it. But the key thing of it is if you have to take it over, your lessons are actually going to be on the computer. So you won't just be sitting in class listening to your teacher teach it next quarter. You'll actually be on your computer working alone with very strict rules, which means that you'll hand in the notes. You actually have to write the notes. You actually have to do the worksheet and hand all that stuff in at the end of the hour to get credit for what you're doing. My opinion, best thing to do, unless for whatever reason you just don't care, is to make sure you just try to go ahead and knock this stuff out. You're getting an opportunity that most people don't get to actually retake tests that you probably did not do well on. But I mean, your teachers, myself, we all understand that you probably didn't do well on them because you just didn't care. But if you just wake up now, then you can actually get that stuff over with and everything will actually be where it's supposed to be. So if you take this seriously for this week, you might be able to eliminate the need of retaking this class next year. So let's just go ahead and get to it. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. I do understand you're more than intelligent enough to get these questions correct. Again, your teachers know that you're more than intelligent enough to get these questions correct. So what I will do on this is just attack points of emphasis that cause struggling students to miss out on points. First thing is people kept writing multiplication signs. So when using multiplication, please don't use any symbols. Again, write this stuff down on a piece of paper if that's what you need, because again, you are sincerely getting a chance to pass this quarter simply by retaking some tests and proving that you can at least get the right answer. Because right now, the biggest issue, and I'm not talking on script right here, but the biggest issue is we're giving you easy questions. Middle school level, 6th grade level. My wife is a 5th grade teacher. She actually gave me a translation paper, and the questions were harder than the ones that are on here. So it's not hard stuff. So honestly, all you have to do is prove you can get them right legally without cheating, and you get out of this class. Like, it's really not meant to be failed. So please try your best not to do that. But all of our work this quarter has shown multiplication with no symbol at all. Consider the two-step equation we've looked at for almost a full school year. This is 3 times x, and we know this is 3 times x because we've seen it all year as 3 times x. So we understand that 3 is being multiplied by x, but you should also understand that none of your solving problems have any multiplication symbols. The only time we've used any kind of symbol is whenever your x is being multiplied or your number is being multiplied by 2 things, but that's something different. When it's just a number times x, it's always 5x, it's always 7x, 10x, negative 3p, 4m, anything like that is how it is always. So please do your best to put that into your habit so you don't miss out on anything. Again, it's just a matter of taking it seriously enough to just go ahead and knock this stuff out. There's nothing wrong with passing this class. There's actually more wrong with failing a class that, again, is not even really a high school class. If you look at the overall numbers, again, 6 is the honors weight, 5 is the advanced weight, 4B is the class that you're trying to get into, and as I told my class, which if you are in my class, you've heard this already, if 4B is that, then 4A is here, but there's not 2 4s. There's 6, there's 5, there's 4, and there's 3, which means this is actually a 3-weight class that they snuck in on you and had you work through. But anyway, second thing is stop writing division signs also. We do not put this symbol on anything that we do in terms of translating, because you see x divided by 3 equals 7. We know that this is x plus 2 divided by 6 equals 4. We know that this is x divided by 5 plus 1 equals 10. And we know that because we've seen it all year. So all of these problems have division, but none of those problems use the actual division symbol. And that's because we stopped using that symbol way back in the first quarter. Our division problem should be written as a fraction. The first value goes on top, second value goes on bottom. If you need to make sense of this, consider reading this list to yourself. And if you read that list, nobody read cat, dog, bicycle, car, tree. You should have read or naturally read tree, car, bicycle, dog, cat. And the reason you did that is because you naturally read from top to bottom. So therefore, when two things are supposed to be in order, it also goes top to bottom. Whatever's first goes on top, whatever's second goes on bottom. It's a natural order for you because, again, you've done this your whole life. Not asking you to go against what's natural for you, just simply asking you to apply what you know to something new. And as I'm going to say a whole bunch of times, just try. Because again, once you try it out and actually try to get it right, I'm pretty sure you can get way more right than you think you can. But another key thing on there is that you just need to make sure you pay attention to the order. None of you are wearing your socks over your shoes. None of you brush your teeth with water on it, then put toothpaste on a toothbrush. You're all, again, intelligent enough to understand the importance of doing things in order, so that means that you are purposely choosing not to pay attention to the order whenever the answer is supposed to be 6 minus x and you put x minus 6, because it's not as if the order is hidden from you. It's directly in the problem. So the only way that you're getting it backwards all the time is if you're purposely just saying, you know what, I don't care, I'm just going to put some things down and do it how I want to do it. But again, the key thing with math is that they have to mark you wrong because you have to do things the right way. But again, addition, subtraction, and division follow in order. All you have to do is pay attention and give the order just a bit of respect. Again, the rest falls in place as you work. Remember, multiplication does not have an order because no matter what order they give it to you, you're going to put number first, variable second, number first, variable second, number first, variable second, whatever you would do. But that's just multiplication. That's the only one that doesn't have order involved in it. Another thing is make sure you just memorize the tough words. There's a decent sized list of words to remember: sum, plus, more than, difference, minus, less than, product, times, each, per, quotient, divided by. But again, you're a high school student, high school age student, which means either 14, 15 right now years old, and you've experienced most of those words already enough to know what they mean. For example, if you read these 4 things and you honestly read these 4 things, I guarantee you probably use the words plus, minus, times, and divided by. No one said 9, I don't know that symbol. 4, 2, I don't know that symbol. 1, 8, I don't know that symbol. 3, 6, I don't know that symbol. 2, you said 9 plus 4. 2 minus 1, 8 times 3, 6 divided by 2, because you've used those, which means there's no need to do plus, minus, times, divided by. That leaves sum, more than, difference, less than, product, each, and per, and quotient. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words. Another thing is, most of you use the file, it means that there's no reason to miss these problems. You already know what the problems look like. Speaking of order, again, no one read this as 4 plus 9. Again, no one reads this as 4 plus 9 because you naturally read 9 plus 4, which means you understand the order. You obviously get the order because you read it that way. All you have to do is just take your time and write it the right way and get the points. Here's the funny thing about this class. I don't know many students who have gotten an 80% on 2 tests and failed. So maybe you have an F right now, but it's only because you've probably not really practiced for the test. But 80% on this test and 80% on the other one I'm going to give you is really not that hard to fight for. And chances are, if you at least get close, 70, 65, something like that, your teacher might actually even work with you because there's really no reason for you to have to retake this class. The only people who should retake this class are the people who blatantly just don't care and don't try. So if you at least show a little bit of effort, your teacher might actually, I don't know if it's worked right now, but it might work in the 4th quarter. But anyway, another thing for common sense, if you had 3 apples and someone else had 5 more than you, you understand you would have to add 3 and 5 to get the number of apples, which means now we understand what more than means. It means add. More than means you have more, which means you add to what you have. If they had 1 apple less than you, you understand that you would have to subtract to find the amount. That takes another one off. That now leaves 6 words that I had on that list that you need to memorize. It's not that bad. Again, I use the word understand because you learned this stuff in elementary school. Again, unfortunately, you just keep getting in your own way in terms of passing the class. Failing the class in the 9th grade does not allow you to simply move forward like the other years. You should understand, and please understand, because you got to stop ruining your high school career, that in middle all the way up to 8th grade, you could do whatever you wanted in class. You could choose not to work. You could choose not to learn. You could get kicked out every day, and they still moved you to the next grade. It does not happen here. You are not going to get out of this place unless you pass classes. And most of your teachers are giving you the answers. So all you have to do is just, like I said, get out of your way, But anyway, you'll have to repeat this class until you finally pass, which means if you do have to repeat this class, you'll be in with another group of freshmen who, will be sitting doing almost the same thing as a lot of people in your class now. Again, it doesn't mean that you repeat it until you know it. It just repeats until you pass it. So in my opinion, you already know it. So again, stop wasting your own time and go ahead and get the grade. So let's get to the work, but keep in mind you have the ability to memorize lyrics to songs within the span of an hour. Those lyrics are mixed with a whole bunch of noise from the music. They've got all those effects, the auto-tune, and many of the people saying them aren't even saying the words clearly, yet for some reason you can still learn the words quickly. So here's the thing. As I go through the problems, just take a minute to write down the words you don't know. You know what you don't know. We can't force you to learn something. We can't pick your brain and figure out what you know and don't know. But what we can do is give you the opportunity to go ahead and flex whatever you actually have. So all you have to do is flex a little bit. And so if you know that I go through a problem and you don't know what that word is, just write it down and write what the operation is. So again, passing the test with an 80% or higher is an easy way to almost guarantee you pass the class. I had students who had terrible test grades that turned it on chapter 3 and chapter 4, and now they're passing because they got 80s and 90s on the test. Again, there are 18 problems with 12 word phrases. Again, you already know at least 4, actually 6 of the phrases, so it's not much in simply asking you to just try to do better. So let's look at this test review, which is the same thing we did on a test review day. And again, remember that the main thing is to connect the word with the proper sign. And again, also make sure you pay attention to the order. So you might want to write down what you can. You have all hour to get ready for this. Now, again, maybe you fast forwarded through a whole bunch of stuff I told you, which really doesn't make sense because this whole video is to help you get through this stuff. And all you have to do is take your time, but you have all hour to get through this. So you can actually write down the problems that you miss and literally memorize them tonight and get them right tomorrow, because these are the only questions you're going to see. All that's going to happen on the test is instead of this being the number 1 question, it might be the 4th question. Instead of this being an 8, it might be a 6. Instead of that being a Y, it might be an M. But it's the same exact thing. And so here's what you want to do. First thing you want to do is go ahead and underline whatever the word is, which is minus, and understand that we're subtracting. And if it's a order type of problem, then you probably want to go ahead and write that symbol. Again, minus, of course, obviously means subtract. And all you have to do, again, in terms of your order, is read and say the first thing I bump into is 8. That means 8 goes first. The second thing I bump into is Y. That means Y goes second. This is not Y minus 8. But I want you to think about the fact that anybody putting Y minus 8 is literally going against what they read and putting the second value first and the first value second. It says 8, write the 8. It says minus, write the minus. It says Y, write the Y. This is why your teachers and myself are all frustrated with the fact that you're probably not getting through it, because that's all you have to do. Number 2, sum means plus. If you don't know that, write down the word sum and make sure you write down it means plus. Study that word tonight. You don't have to memorize it for your whole life. Just memorize it for tomorrow when you take the test. I'll tell you that I got a math degree, and most of the tests I took, I didn't remember the stuff that I passed 3-4 days later. Now, of course, I had to study again for the final, but you don't have to walk around with all this stuff in your head. Just learn it for the test. That's all it takes. But here again is the key part. The first thing you bump into that's not the word sum is X. That goes first. The second thing you bump into is 7. That goes second. That's it. Learn what the word means. Write the sign. Put the stuff in order. A number M divided by 4. Again, we understand what divided by means. It's a fraction. So even though it looks like a minus, it's actually a fraction. But again, the first thing we bump into is M. And as I said, in a list, top to bottom, the first thing goes on top. The second thing goes on the bottom. The only way you miss this is if you just don't care. So please, just try to make sure you're trying your best to pay attention to all that stuff, because, again, we get the same check whether you pass or fail, but I know for a fact it's me, it's Miss Johnson, and it's Miss Al. And I know that we all care about you passing this course. So we shouldn't care more than you do about passing this course. Just go ahead and do it. Quotient again means divide. If you don't know, write that. 6 is first, so 6 goes first. J is second, so J goes second. That's all. Do not put this. That is wrong. That's not how we write it. And I said, don't write division signs. Don't write multiplication signs. Just go ahead and get the stuff right. A number n times 9, we know what not times means. We also remember that multiplication is the one I told you don't use any multiplication symbols. Don't do anything at all to this, but put number first, variable second. You have never at any point this year seen N9. That's never happened. That looks weird to you, and I'm sure it looks weird to you because it doesn't happen, which means if you write it and it looks weird, it's probably wrong. Trust your instincts. Write it the way that it's supposed to be. Number first, variable second. Product of a number P and 11. Again, product of a number P and 11. Product means multiply. Once we understand product means multiply, we understand that the order is unimportant because remember when we multiply, we put the number first, the variable second. We do not put a time sign. We do not put a dot. We do not use parentheses. All that stuff is out the door. Just put 11p. Again, product means times. If you didn't know that, write that down. Study that tonight. Any word that I use, any word that I circle and put the answer for that you don't understand or not circle, underline, just make sure you write it down and study it. Each is another word for times. The key thing for this is you're multiplying 7 times something and you want to figure out what to multiply 7 by. This is where you have to ask yourself each what. So it'll be each room, which means it's 7R. Maybe your teacher lets you get away with 7x or 7p. I don't. You lose half points if you don't use the right variable. But either way, each room, 7R. And if you think that my class is crazy, out of 60 kids, I'm only failing 7. So think about that in terms of, saying that that's not fair for me to push or for you to have an expectation. Difference of 2 and a number U. Difference means subtract. 2 is first. U is second. Just write them in the same order. Again, the only way you miss this is if you honestly, purposely don't pay attention to the order. You don't respect the order that you're supposed to do, and then you miss the problem because you just don't care. Get that out of your system. The key thing with more than, which when you had the notes we talked about it, is that this is the only one where you're supposed to switch the order. So you're supposed to say because it's more than or less than, you switch the order, which means yes, it's plus because plus is more, that this actually goes first and this actually goes second. But let me tell you a secret. There are 18 questions on this test. 2 of those 18 are more than, less than. So let's say you get everything right, but you forget to switch those 2 around. That means you get 16 out of 18. So maybe you're not perfect. You still get pretty much a 90%. Failing a test doesn't mean that you miss a couple questions. Failing a test means you absolutely showed nothing at all that you're supposed to show. So what I'm saying is, even if you don't remember to switch it, who cares? If you remember the order on everything else and you write 5 plus t, great, you'll still pass. The problem is you're missing this, and you're missing this, and you're missing those and all the other things that you've been missing. So please, just get it right. Difference means subtract. Again, if you don't know that, write it down. 10 is first. A is second. That's all. When you see fractions, I can tell you for the most part, I've been doing math for 3 times your lifespan. I've never seen a fraction added to a variable, subtracted from a variable, or divided by a variable in this type of problem. The only thing you ever do is multiply, which means 3/4 G, because remember, multiply means don't put a multiplication symbol, put the number first, attach the variable to it. But again, this one problem is not going to kill you. Everything else is. If you don't know that sum means plus, that's going to hurt you. If you don't remember that the first number I write goes first and the second thing I have goes second, that's going to hurt you. But that's going to hurt you more than, knowing what 3/4 G is. You just got to make sure you get every point you can. Once again, kind of like more than, less than is one of those where you're supposed to switch it around. But again, I'm going to tell you that in terms of survival, who cares if you don't flip it? You'll just miss this one. And you'll get everything else right. But this is the only one that really needs to be flipped. Less than means subtract because taking away is subtracting. Y has to go first. 4 has to go second. There you go. A number h minus 3. Again, minus means subtract. H is first, put it. 3 is second, put it. Whenever I read it, if I see H here, I should be seeing, if I see H and 3, I should be seeing H and 3. If I see 4 and T, I should be looking at 4 first, T second. If I see N and 5, I should be looking at N and 5. This is the only one that doesn't do that. But again, bottom line, R and 7 should be R and 7, not 7 and R. Respect the order. You're smart enough to do it. Please, just do it. Divided by means we're going to have a fraction. Remember that the first thing listed goes on the top. The second thing we list goes on the bottom. And that's that. A number n plus 5. Again, plus means add. This is first. Write it. This is second. Write it. Even if you have to write these silly symbols I'm doing, go ahead. Just get it right. The hardest part of teaching high school for me is that I see so many students with the intelligence to do things who for some reason think that passing a class makes you lose status or, messes up your standing in the streets or whatever. I don't know what it is that people think. But passing a class doesn't do anything but simply mean you pass a class. It's not like you pass it and then all of a sudden we start calling you a nerd and expecting you to become a scientist. We just want you to pass the class. 9 cats per day. The other word that means multiply is per. Again, the key thing with per is you have to ask yourself per what, which is per day. And so you'd put 9D because it's 9 cats per day. But again, if you don't get that right, so be it. But just make sure you got everything else going. Quotient means divide, which means we have a fraction. Remember that R is first and 7 is second. And that's it. That's all I've got for you. Just, again, make sure that you're doing what you need to do to be ready for that test tomorrow. Hopefully you write what you needed to. Hopefully you copied what you needed to. And if you didn't, just rewind it, go back and do it. You have all hour to get this thing done. When you finish, you'll work with the class. But again, you have all hour to get everything you need to get ready for this test. Just go ahead and do what you need to do. Take it seriously. You'll do Chapter 3 tomorrow. You'll come in Wednesday. I'll do a quick review on Chapter 2. And then you'll do a Chapter 2 test on Thursday. I don't think there's a need to do Chapter 4 because if you didn't get Chapter 4, you probably weren't serious enough for Chapter 4. But in my opinion, if you knock out Chapter 3 and you knock out Chapter 2, you should be okay. Chapter 1, it's a beast. I wouldn't even expect you to have to go back to Chapter 1. But I would also advise you that if you have any zeros, look at your grade book because, again, that's your responsibility now that you're 14, 15, 16, whatever years old. Look at your grade book and see if there's any zeros on quizzes. Email your teacher. Tell them that you'd like to make it up. As far as what I remember, this class is made up of teachers who are allowing you to make up your test, but you have to go and make up the test. We don't go hunt you down for that stuff. But outside of that, like I said, just do what you're supposed to do. I do hope you make it through, and talk to you later. Good luck.